Welcome back to Ink and Insights, the channel where literature meets deep reflection. Today, we explore one of the most fascinating and disturbing novels of the 19th century, The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. This novel is not just about beauty or morality. It is about the power society holds over the human mind, how much of our identity is truly our own, and how much of it is shaped by the voices, expectations, and temptations around us. Through the tragic journey of Dorian Gray, Wilde presents a powerful warning. Society can inspire us, but it can also corrupt us. At the beginning of the novel, Dorian Gray is innocent, youthful, and impressionable. He is admired for his extraordinary beauty, especially by the artist Basil Hallward, who paints his famous portrait. But everything changes when Dorian meets the charismatic and cynical Lord Henry Wotton. Lord Henry represents the seductive voice of society. He introduces Dorian to a philosophy that values pleasure, beauty, and self-indulgence above morality. One of his most famous ideas is, the only way to get rid of a temptation is to yield to it. For the young and impressionable Dorian, this idea becomes dangerously attractive. At that moment, society begins to reshape his identity. Victorian society placed enormous value on appearance and reputation. Beauty was admired, youth was worshipped, and social image often mattered more than personal virtue. Dorian realizes that his beauty gives him power. Looking at his portrait, he wishes that the painting would age while he remains young forever. And mysteriously, his wish comes true. While Dorian stays physically perfect, the portrait begins to reflect the consequences of his immoral actions. This supernatural element becomes a powerful symbol. It represents the difference between how society sees us and who we truly are inside. Lord Henry is perhaps the most important representation of society's influence. He is witty, intelligent, and incredibly persuasive. But his philosophy is dangerous. He encouraged Dorian to pursue pleasure without thinking about consequences. He tells Dorian, live the wonderful life that is in you. At first, this sounds like a celebration of freedom, but gradually, this philosophy removes all moral boundaries. Dorian begins to believe that life should be a constant search for pleasure, no matter the cost. This shows how ideas, especially influential social ideas, can shape a person's destiny. As Dorian embraces this philosophy, he begins to live a life of indulgence and moral decay. He breaks hearts. He ruins reputations. He destroys the lives of people around him. One of the most tragic victims is the young actress Sybil Vane. Dorian falls in love with her talent and beauty, but when her performance disappoints him, he cruelly rejects her. Shortly after, she takes her own life. Instead of feeling guilt, Dorian begins to see the tragedy as something almost artistic. At that moment, the portrait becomes more horrifying. His face remains beautiful, but the painting becomes uglier with every immoral action. This contrast reveals Wilde's powerful message. Society often judges appearances, but morality lies beneath the surface. One of the most interesting aspects of the novel is how society continues to admire Dorian. Rumors spread about his dark lifestyle. People whisper about ruined friendships and strange scandals. Yet his beauty protects him. His face shows no sign of corruption. So society chooses to believe the image rather than the truth. Oscar Wilde exposes the hypocrisy of social judgment. Society often ignores moral truth as long as appearances remain perfect. In this way, Dorian becomes a symbol of a society obsessed with image rather than integrity. Through this story, Oscar Wilde is not simply criticizing one individual. He is criticizing the values of an entire culture. He suggests that when society prioritizes beauty, pleasure, and reputation above morality, it creates an environment where corruption can thrive. Dorian is not born evil. He is shaped by influence, temptation, and social values. This raises a powerful question. Are individuals entirely responsible for their actions? Or does society share part of the blame? In the end, the Picture of Dorian Gray is more than a Gothic story. It is a philosophical reflection on influence, identity, and moral responsibility. Oscar Wilde reminds us that society has immense power over the human mind, but he also warns us about the dangers of surrendering completely to its values. Because when appearances matter more than truth, the result can be tragic. And that is the haunting lesson behind the story of Dorian Gray. If you enjoyed this literary exploration, make sure to like the video and subscribe to Ink and Insights for more deep dives into classic literature and powerful ideas. And here's a question for you. Do you think society shapes our morality, or are we fully responsible for our choices? Let me know in the comments. Until next time, keep reading, keep thinking, and keep exploring.